Hey, good afternoon, good evening, good morning again. Good to have you here. My name is Hans, the Storyteller Nordsiek, and we have another version of the next level lecture for you. It will be in the English language because we do have an international audience. Today I'm going to do an attempt to spread some of my fascination for mythology and storytelling. And I know that's a tragedy of our life or of my life that I will not succeed because we plan about 25 minutes for this lecture and that's not enough. Although still, I hope you get the first glimpse because we all know if you want to the castle, there are many doors. It all starts with getting the key of the first door. I have been inspired by famous writers, storytellers globally about what I'm going to tell you now. So again, essentially, as I told before, what I'm telling is nothing new. What they told is nothing new. It is as old as mankind. I'm just reviving the stories of you, the stories of me, and the story of all of us. And you know, in my perspective, today, if you look at the situation in the world, the chaotic crisis situation, more than ever, what is needed, that we all, on an individual basis, connect ourselves with who we really are. We connect ourselves, refining the path to our own hero's journey. And if we find our own hero's journey and we combine all our hero's journeys, we will find the way towards a peaceful and harmonious living together in this beautiful world. This is one of the motivations that I use that keeps me going, that gets me out of the bed. Last week we talked about the laurel will blossom again, and today it is about a forgotten ancient language that has the potential to give you power. I was fascinated by Joseph Campbell, a famous mythology expert, and also by Erich Fromm, an American-German writer who passed away about 40 years ago. So the proceedings of today, I will give you the background of the language, because that's what I want to convey. There is a language hidden in the world, as old as the world, as old as mankind, that I discovered, many other people also discovered, and that is very easy to learn. You don't need to go to a course of many months to understand it. It is the flip of a switch. Ding! As if a light bulb goes on into your head and heart. Why can I guarantee that this is that simple? Because it happened to me. And what I do tell the children worldwide, if I can do it, you can do it. This is all about this sacred and almost secret language that's transparent, that's open for everybody. More than information given language, this is a poetic language. Easy to understand once you flip that switch. I'm going to use the story of Pinocchio to illustrate what I would tell. I'm going to tell you the short version of Pinocchio, and I'm going to analyze it to understand the different chapters of that story. Mythology, if you go back to the original meaning of mythology, mythology comes from the word mythos, a old Greek word, and mythos means path, roadmap, blueprint. If you go in your car, your airplane, walk out your door and you have no idea where to go, what to do, you will be lost. Well, mythology is able to hand out the blueprint of anybody's life. That's why it's called mythology. That's why I found it so important, because it's not used a lot in our present culture. The language I talk about, and then we go to the Pinocchio story. The language I talk about is the language of dreams, of fairy tales, and of mythology. I take you back to Delhi, India, 1995. It's 26 years ago. With my country, that's 6-7 hours time difference, and I was a pilot. I was wake up, it was 2 o'clock in the night, I couldn't sleep. Then I switched on the TV and I saw the Disney movie about Pinocchio. And I've heard about the story, I've read the books, I was 2 years old, and then my mother gave me this book. It's called Pinocchio. And I've read it, and there is, I can show you here, my brother and I, we made our own handwriting here. So this is more than 60 years old, and so I knew about the story. And then in that particular night in Delhi in 1995, I saw the movie of Disney World, and I got emotional, and suddenly that switch went on, and I saw a totally different perspective. I saw a totally different translation and understanding of the Pinocchio story. It happened in a flash of light. The stories, or the way mythology and fairy tales and stories and mythology connect with you and want to convey a message to you, is again, it's a non-informational type language. It's a more that language of the heart. It's a symbolic language. And now symbolic means two things. Symbol, the word symbol, symbolic, two things, one or two things. If you go to a restaurant, and hopefully in some weeks, some months we can go again to a restaurant near you, and you go sit on the table, and then the waiter gives you the menu. Here's the menu, and you see here it says menu, and you open it, and then you see, well, you can order a steak. That's the word steak there, or potatoes. Well, you can order that steak, potato. Well, are you going to eat that word, or are you going to eat that which represents that word, or the word represents something exactly? You're going to eat that potato or that steak, what you want to eat. So the word symbolizes something different. And that is how symbology, mythology works. Another secret, what I discovered, that don't think too much about it. Don't try to let your brain kick in and start to intellectualize it. Let it sink in. We come to that later in 10 minutes from now. The factual story of Pinocchio. It is Pinocchio. Is the following. Pinocchio, there was once upon a time, a long time ago, there was this carpenter. His name was Geppetto. It's an Italian story made by an Italian man. And Geppetto had no children. And Geppetto wants a son. So he said, well, I'm a carpenter. Okay, let's make a wooden son. So he made a wooden son, a child that is made from wood that was laying around his workshop. And so he made that. It was like a puppet, and it hung there. It was hanging in his workshop, and then he went to sleep. And then this fairy came in the night and gave life to the wooden puppet called Pinocchio. The next morning, woke up, Geppetto, his maker, woke up and found, well, Pinocchio is alive. And he was dangling with his feet, with his wooden hands and wooden feet, and he was alive. And well, if you're a young boy, 5, 6, 7 year old, you need to go to school. So he was sent to school by his father, giving some bread, some food with him, go to the school, and then something happened. He went to the school, which means he went into his life, and also the fairy, that beautiful lady with the magic stick, she also gave him a friend with him, a little friend, that's a cricket. And the cricket was his consciousness. A cricket would join him in his life, a small animal, the cricket. So he went to school, and then on the way to school, he was people talked to him, and somebody said, well, I have a better life for you. Now you can go to theater, you can be very famous. And well, okay, let's do that, he said. And then he went to the theater, and he could sing and dance, and people were happy and clapping. And then he wanted to go home, and he said, well, the director of the theater said, you're not going home because you're making a lot of money from me. You're going to stay here. So he was imprisoned in a small prison, and he couldn't escape, go to his school, go to his father, back to his father. So at that night, the fairy came back again. Everybody was asleep. His guard was also asleep, the bad man in the story. And the fairy opened the door, and Pinocchio escaped. Came back to his father, went back to school again, and then he met some youngsters. He said, well, you know, young people, we don't have to go to school. School is boring. Let's go to the land of sweet and sugar. Let's have fun. Yeah, only fun and fun and fun. And he went with them, and then he came there in that land of only sweet and sugar and fun and enjoyment and drinking and smoking. And then he saw that the friends that were there, more and more, they started to turn into donkeys. And he wanted to escape, and he couldn't escape. And he finally, his cricket helped him to escape from the land of sweet and sugar, where everything was nice and funny, and he wanted to go back to his dad. So, and then the end of the story, what happened? Now the cricket is very essential in the story. Come to that later. He goes back to his house where he expects his father to be there, and his father wasn't there, and he's there with his cricket, and the father left a message. I'm left the house because you didn't come back, and I'm going to search for you, and now I'm imprisoned into a big whale, this big huge animal in the sea. By the way, a whale is a very important metaphoric, symbolic animal. Anyway, he went far away. He wanted to find his father, and he went out of the door, and he couldn't find the father. And then there was this white dove pigeon landed. He said, jump on my back together with your cricket, the friend the cricket. I will take you to the land where your father is prisoned into the stomach of the whale. Long story short, he went into the stomach of the whale, where he found his father on a ship. He was able to release his father and to escape from the whale's stomach. The whale got very angry, and he finally got away with it, and they escaped from that part of the story. And then they went home, and then the magic happened, because they came home, and then the magical happened, because they were celebrating life, and he got his wooden legs got made into legs of flesh and blood. And then the cricket left the story. Well, this is the fantasy and also fantastic story. Now let me take you into the analyzation of this story. How can we use the language of dreaming, of mythology, of fairy tales to understand what is happening here? And in this analysis, it's all about what transformation, because that's the message in this story, what transformations are needed to grow from a child into an adult. That's the whole essence in that story. Which of course you will understand that is a very essential message to give to any child. And if you don't give such a message to a child, the child will be lost in his life. So the analysis is the following. Right? We take 8 aspects out of the story. It starts with Geppetto, the woodmaker, having a desire. He had a dream. He had a dream of making life, of having a son. And then he went to sleep, and then the magic happened. The magic happened that the fairy came to him to give life, representing that everything starts with an initiation, with a dream, a desire to have something. And life is created by something out of ourselves. Life is an unexplainable, magical thing in the universe that we cannot make ourselves. So that's given to us by nature. I hope you get the profundity of these types of stories. So the fairy gives lives, and he gives lives and gives the cricket as well to Pinocchio, the cricket. And the cricket is his consciousness. And when you're young, we all know that when you're young, you have to learn many things and you have not yet totally developed your own consciousness. So you're not yet able to deal with the world. And that's why in the symbolic language, the consciousness, the cricket, his friend, is outside him and helping him. Now let's see what happens at the end of the story with this friend, the cricket. So he leaves the house in order to make his own life, to be independent of his surrounding and to take up the adventure of what we call life. That's why he leaves the house and his father says goodbye, he gives him some food, some drinks with him. His father cannot join him because you have to walk your own path. So Pinocchio starts first time in the morning to go to his school, and then the temptations of life come to him. First the temptation, oh, I will make you famous, I'll give you applause. And then he goes into the theater and starts to do his singing, and he got imprisoned by this bad guy. And then again something happened. He's in this prison, literal prison, and then the fairy comes back and she forgives him. And it happens 2 times in the story. 2 times he's forgiven and he's given an open door again. 2 times. So it's all about forgiveness. So whatever you do in your life, there is always some sort of forgiveness able. So that's another aspect in that story. Anyway, the last part of the story. Now the magic happens because he has to save his father. He has to save his father, and the father is in the whale. And we know it from other books that the whale stands for being imprisoned in your own life, having had life and not being able to go outside beyond your own consciousness. So his father is imprisoned, and now what happens? In order for Pinocchio to become a man of flesh and blood, an independent being of this earth, he needs to liberate his father. He needs to make a hero's action toward his father, and only then will he be able to. So then what happens? Pinocchio was depending on his father, and when he started to release his father from the whale, it turned around. And that's the magical part of the story. So now Pinocchio is superior to his father, is able to help his father. Very essential for any child to understand that. And now there are other stories where they say, well, you have to kill your father in order to be adult. Of course, it doesn't mean literal physical killing. It means you have to kill the father outside you and incorporate the father inside you to be an adult. So that happens in that story also. So at the end of the day, at the end of the story, they're going to celebrate life. It's all about celebration life. And what happens, 2 things, is when they start to celebrate life, his friend the cricket walks out of the story, meaning that due to the fact that Pinocchio made his life into an adventure, he started to be his own hero. He incorporated his consciousness in himself, so he doesn't need his friend the cricket anymore. And another thing happened while they were celebrating life. He saw that his legs and his arms from wood, they turned to legs and arms from flesh and from bones. You know, And these are the messages that are inside this story. I always find it an amazing story, and there are so many beautiful, amazing stories. Um, Hans, what I tell you what I did when I realized the power of these type of stories, I start to eat them and consume them without borders. I say yes, it is. I accept. I take the risk. I accept that the story of Pinocchio, or the story of anybody else, or story of Cinderella, it is 100% true. It's not true in the physical sense. It's true in a non-physical sense, and as true as it can be. So somehow, 25, 30 years ago, I decided, okay, I eat these stories, and they are for me totally true, and I need them. And I remember that, we all face this issue that we want to be separate when we start to grow up. We are 15 to 25, 30 years. We want to separate ourselves from our parents, which is very essential to do, because you deserve your birthright to have an independent, beautiful, adventurous life. So I was dealing with these issues with my parents, with my mother, with my father, and one day, and my father at that time was quite present in my life, superior. And when I bought something for him something, and then he always paid me back. And then one day I bought him a new telephone, and it was, well, I don't know, $100. And what I did, I gave that telephone to him many years ago, and the $100 that was the value of this telephone, I hid it in the package. So he said, Hans, okay, I will pay you the $100 back, and he took the package home. And a few days later he called me up, hey, you made a joke, you gave me the money back. So yes, I said yes. And then that was the end of the story. And for me that was very important, because I felt and told myself, now I am reversing my relationship with my parent, with my father. And just by making my own symbol, my own ritual for that. To conclude, my dear viewers, Hans, can you say something very concrete about this new language? And then I need to take you in the fact that in the traditional sense of a language, what I tell here is nonsense almost, because it's another type of language. And then Hans, well, how can I start to learn that language? Well, what I told you before, it's the flip of a switch. If you decide now, like Pinocchio's father, I want to make something, I want to make a puppet, I want to make a song, that's very instrumental, that you say, okay, I say yes to what's being told to me here. I let it come in. And then the magic happens. No, it's if you take a vitamin pill, well, vitamin C or D, take a vitamin pill, and you digest it, does it need any of your actions after you digest the pill to let it work, or will it work by itself? Yeah, it will work by itself. Bingo. If you take, after your work, you take a wine, you sip on the wine, a very beautiful, lovely white wine, and we know there's this alcohol in it, and it gives you some different feeling. If you take a little bit of the wine, and the wine goes into your body, in order to let the wine has her influence on your state of mind, does it take any action from you? No, it doesn't. It just does its work. Bingo. That's what I mean. That's how mythology, that's how stories work. As simple as that. Say yes to it and accept it as total true and transparent, and digest it. Don't try to analyze it with your brains, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Do you remember Thunderbirds? Go. Don't think about it. Don't intellectualize what I say here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Make the decision. Do you know that the best decision, in fact, almost all the decisions we make in life, it's about who do I want to marry, what shall I eat tonight, which car do I buy. Almost all these decisions, we think they're made from a logical standpoint of view. We're all subject to our inner feeling. We make it subconsciously. We make it with our gut feeling. All these type of decisions. Don't believe me, believe the professional psychologist, because they will tell you. And if you only take 5 seconds, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go, make a decision, the brain has no time to kick in and ruin your decision. So the same with these type of things. This language is all about initiate, say yes to it, let it come in, and let the story do her work. That's all you have to do. And finally, if you feel an emotional impact somehow inside you, bingo, bingo, bingo. That's the indication, that's bullseye. Then the arrow hits the bullseye. You're on a damn good road. You're on the road of having your own life based upon mythology, the roadmap of your life that's been given to you by nature. Ladies and gentlemen, we go to the conclusion. Your giveaway, your takeaway, my giveaway from you. One day a man told me the following a message, and then we'll conclude, and I wish you a great day. It's all about storytelling, mythology, Pinocchio, Cinderella, all these stories. And they can be stories from your clan, from your family, from your culture, from your country, from your part of the world, or from global stories. They are all here for one purpose. It's the way it is. It's the way it is. The purpose is to connect you with your divine purpose. Now I know some of you say, well, divine, what's that? We talk about it the next time. The stories are here to connect you with your divine purpose. Nowadays we would say to make you the best version of yourself, to connect with who you essentially are. And that, dear viewers, that is the power of these stories. I'm going to conclude with one saying, and that's the following. More than you having to search your purpose, be assured that your purpose is searching for you. Thank you for listening and viewing. Talk to you next time. I'll be back. Hans the Storyteller, Nordsiek.